Derby County have just announced the signing of 32-year-old attacking option in Kemar Roofe. Kemar Roofe can play all across that forward line, especially in that number 9 position where he spent the majority of his career. Having just watched through his interview, it seems a very shrewd signing from John Eustace and a deal which could look to save Derby County across the course of this season. Is he going to be available for this weekend's game? He seems to think he will be, and what a signing this could be. A very experienced number 9, a striker who has played at the level time and time again, and one which Derby County fans will remember from his time at Leeds United, especially that season under Frank Lampard where he scored a whole host of goals versus Derby County. Now, obviously, this deal is not a deal for the long term. It's one which is going to see Derby County through until the end of the season. He's obviously just come off a 4-year spell at Rangers, which he ended in 2024. It was in the June, obviously, when that contract came to a close. And we knew Derby County needed attacking options. And Kemar Roofe was a player who I actually didn't know he was still a free agent. I actually thought he was still at Rangers. So it wasn't someone who had come across my mind. It wasn't someone I'd even thought of. And obviously, he's played for a wide range of different clubs across the course of his career. Before obviously coming and joining Derby County, you go through the likes of West Brom, where he started his career, Colchester, Northampton, Cheltenham. He's played at Anderlecht, Oxford, Rangers, and at Leeds United, and he's been a goal scorer everywhere he's been. 33 goals in 122 for Leeds United, 38 in 102 for Rangers. You've got 31 in 65 for Oxford United, 7 in 16 for Anderlecht. And as I mentioned, he can play anywhere across that front four, whether it be in the number 10 role behind a striker, on either wing, and even down the middle. He's made 115 appearances as a centre forward, 50 goals, 12 assists, 109 appearances as a right winger, 39 goals, 19 assists, 68 appearances on the left, 25 and 12, 43 in that sort of 9.5 role, 13 and 6, 15 appearances in that number 10 role, 3 goals and 4 assists. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be talking about this, and it's going to be very interesting news among the Derby County fan base and what a deal this may prove to be. I've spoke time and time again about the importance of having experienced Championship options in the squad, and we don't have a great deal of those. Obviously, you've got the likes of Matt Clark, you've got Craig Forsyth, Mendes Lang's played at the level, Barkhazen's played at the level, but you've got none that have sort of been above that level up until this season. You look at Mendes Lang has been down in League One for a while, Barkhazen down in League One, Fozzie down in League One. Obviously a few years ago was playing for Anderlecht. I think that was 2019, 2020. But you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. And I do believe that this will be a fantastic signing for Derby County. Will he start on Saturday? I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, I'm not sure how many of you will have watched his interview, but Connor Washington has been seen in training within that video, and in my opinion, this is an excellent addition for Derby County. It's one which can really help push Derby County to that sort of next level within that relegation battle. If we look at some of the other teams around us, they have some really good attacking options and are probably scoring goals but also leaking, whereas we're leaking and not scoring, and we needed to find a way to improve those scoring odds. Now, whether Kemar Roofe plays on the left, plays on the right, plays through the middle, I think he's going to have a massive impact over the course of the next few months of this season. And there's a large range of reasons why. He's a very skillful player. Obviously, last season he scored just, I think it's 2 goals with 1 assist, but only played around 700 minutes of football. So you have to take that into consideration, that he wasn't necessarily a key player for Rangers over the course of last year, which is why he then ended up stepping away from the club and moving on to pastures new, which has ended up being Derby County. Now, obviously, Kemar Roofe speaks very well of John Eustace and said that he's a massive reason why he has took this opportunity at Derby County. And I'll be completely honest with you, these are the points I was making just a few weeks ago when we was in the transfer window, and I was talking about top quality players, the likes of a Tom Lawrence, the likes of a Louis Barry, those sorts of players not wanting to come to Derby County based on the manager that we had. And you look at someone like John Eustace, who's actually wanting to play proper football, wants to get the ball to the forwards and wants them to make things happen, whereas under Paul Warne, it certainly wasn't that opportunity. It was getting the ball wide, crosses in the box, wide, crosses in the box. Now, there's nothing wrong with crosses, but when you're not building up properly, you don't give players the opportunity to get into the box, and a lot of the time we only had one player in the box, and that's obviously no good when you're playing against 6'4", 6'5" centre halves. Even if you're 6'4", 6'5", when you're on a 2-on-1, it's never really good. Now, obviously, under John Eustace, there has been some additions to the coaching staff. We're going to go into that a little bit further tomorrow. But the introduction of Paul Clements as the goalkeeper coach and Steve Round is something that cannot be underestimated and will obviously have a massive impact on potential signings like this. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this deal does actually go. I think the actual quote that came from Kemar Roofe in that interview was, the new gaffer was a major influence on making my decision. Now, if you go back 6 weeks, if you'd have put a Paul Warne contract in front of Kemar Roofe, do I believe he'd be at Derby County? Absolutely not. And obviously, I'll try and have put some highlights within this video of Kemar Roofe's career, because what an unbelievable player he has been across the course of his entire career. He scored some unbelievable goals as well, where he's taken on man after man after man, scoring from the halfway line. And it's something for me where Derby County really needed to improve those forward options. If we do just head on over to FootMob a second and look at Derby County's forward options, half of them are injured. You look at Corey Blackett-Taylor out injured, Dejon Brown out injured, Washington, who knows if he's going to play, Barkhazen not necessarily at the level, Mendez-Lang ultimately not being good enough this season, Selverson, Yates, Caden Jackson. Now, I do believe now we've got an extra attacking option that can really have an impact on this second half of the season, and there's many, many players that could have further impact for Derby County. Will we bring in more? I'm not entirely sure. That's something which is going to be very, very interesting across the course of the next few months. Obviously, you look at the signing that we brought in last season around a similar time in Dwight Gale, and it gave us a plan B. It gave us another option, and ultimately the style of football didn't change, but Dwight Gale scored, I think it was 3 goals across the course of his time at Derby County. He only played about 6 or 7 games, but he scored 3 or 4 goals, and ultimately they were goals which ended up putting us in that position where Bolton couldn't catch us and Peterborough fumbled the bag. And if Kemar Roofe can come in, score 4 or 5 goals across the course of the next 13 games and give us wins on the board, then he would absolutely be well worth the wages that we're potentially paying him, and well worth the opportunity of bringing him into Derby County. It's certainly a massive, massive option, and I do believe that he'll be huge for Derby County. Adding to that forward line even gives another option, whether it be, are we going to play sort of into the feet of Selverson? Are we going to play into the feet of Kemar Roofe? Are we going to put Roofe in behind? What sort of circumstances are you expecting from John Eustace with this? Obviously, we've needed additions in that forward line across the course of January and the summer, and ultimately they did not come, but they have came now in the form of Kemar Roofe. Where will you sort of see him specifically for Derby County? For me, I probably see him more as that number 9, but obviously with having that opportunity of being able to play on either side and in that number 10 role could be a massive, massive option for Derby County. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts of this signing down in the comments. I'm amazed that this deal has come through. I'm absolutely shocked that this deal, there's been no sort of real talk about it. There was probably a little bit of murmurs on the forum, but with no legitimate source. I didn't really want to talk about it too early, but what a deal it has been for Derby County. Can Kemar Roofe take Derby County back into Championship survival?